seconds and counting.
Hey, what's good, yo? Welcome back to another video. It's Anish. I'm joined with Drew and E. And today we're going to be reviewing the Texans' two-quarterback system that they ran against the Dallas Cowboys. And this was pretty unconventional, right? You don't really see two quarterbacks getting equal number of snaps. They both had 32 snaps against the Cowboys. Davis Mills, he was pretty good, 16 of 21. He did have an interception, but overall, he seemed pretty accurate. Like near the end of the second quarter, he had like a drive where back-to-back completions, and it ended up in a Kymie Fairbairn field goal. So I thought that was pretty good from Davis Mills. And Jeff Driskel, this was, I believe, his first game playing for us this season, and he was 4 of 6, one touchdown, a beautiful pass to Amari Rogers where he rolled out under pressure, threw it, a beautiful pass, and he also rushed 7 attempts for 36 yards. So I think it was working until it wasn't near the end of the game where the play calling just tanked us. We're right at the goal line, and that was disappointing to say the least. But overall, what do you think went good? What do you think went bad with this type of system?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this two quarterback system is probably the best way for the Texans to kind of move forward on offense. And they tried it out, which going with just Davis Mills. He had a very, very rough season. They tried going to Kyle Allen. That did not work. Anyway, you kind of saw them use Jeff Driskel in that first game of the season on a couple of runs, a little Driskel package. So now they're just kind of combining the two strengths. Davis Mills is able to have some moments in his short accuracy. He only had 5 incompletions. Like you said, he was 16 for 21. And Jeff Driskel, he's a pretty mobile quarterback. He's willing to take risks. You saw that pass to Amari Rogers. He rolled, like you said, he rolled out of the pocket, but he also kind of threw it into traffic a little bit. But he trusted in his wide receiver, Amari Rogers, a guy who's barely even been on the squad for like 3 weeks, and he threw it up to him. Amari Rogers made a great play, and that's just kind of what you need. We need to see this Texans team be more aggressive, and that's something that I really, really enjoyed watching. I think they can expand this even more with telling Jeff Driscoll to just keep running with the ball, keep running with the ball. If you're gonna run read option, pull it. There was a couple of times on the goal line where Jeff Driscoll, he didn't pull it, he just handed the ball off and they lost 2 yards when honestly if he pulled it, probably would have had a touchdown. And that's something that they can only improve on for now. Just look at the game film and say, okay, you can do this next time. But some things I didn't like is honestly it was just kind of like the inconsistencies. You're taking guys out when they're hot. I didn't really like some of the rotations at a time. I guess it kind of seemed like they're doing it from a drive-by-drive basis. But also, when they got on the goal line, they didn't even give Mills a chance to throw the ball. So how about we see that next time? Let's be a little bit less predictable, because when you do put Jeff Driscoll in, because he only threw 6 passes, it's kind of hinting a little bit too much at the Texans running the ball. If that's Jeff Driscoll running the ball, if that's Damian Pierce, if that's Rex Burkhead, they still the opposing defense can key in on the run there. So I'd like to see them maybe even just rotate them in play by play. That would really mess with the defense, if anything. But yeah, I'd say goal line packages, gotta fix that a little bit more. Run the ball, Jeff Driscoll on the goal line too. But strengths, I think they just gotta keep expanding this offense and kind of mess with the defense. Just keep mixing things up and see what you can do.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree. I just have two main points that I want to discuss. The first one being that, the Cowboys weren't really expecting this, like the two quarterback system with Driscoll and Mills. So it could be that's why it looked kind of good at first. So the big test will be Kansas City this week. And if they can look good against Kansas City, or at least half as good as they looked against the Cowboys at the beginning of the game, then I feel like we might have something here to close out the season. But this is my second point, is that according to Austin Mock of The Athletic, the Texans have a 93% chance at picking number one, and they have a 1.9 projected wins. So this guy is projecting us to get one more win, maybe. This is pretty much, I feel like the two quarterback system is the Texans saying, hey, we don't really have a quarterback right now, so Bryce Young, get ready, pack your bags, book a flight to Houston because you're coming here sooner than later. And I just feel like that's their way of confirming that we're taking Bryce Young at first because they're just not trusting one of the QBs to be the QB. They're actually trusting two of the QBs to be the QB. So I kind of see this as confirmation from Nick or from the coaching staff if they're still here next season that, hey, we're getting Bryce Young.
Yeah, like just going off of your point, this isn't a very like a long-term solution. It's not sustainable over like the course of next season. So, like you said, like this just really screams out to you saying that the Texans are going to draft a quarterback, whether you like it or not, whether you're a supporter of Bryce Young or you have some concerns about him. He's most likely going to be the pick. We're going to make future videos on like draft strategy and who the Texans should draft and things of that nature, but it does seem like all the signs are pointing to that. And just overall, like the Texans, they scored the most against the Cowboys on offense since week 4 against the Chargers, where they scored 24 points, the Cowboys 23 points. So, I mean, it seemed like you said, like the Cowboys certainly weren't expecting this, I guess. So it was pretty interesting to like switch it up for something for once. So I thought that was pretty interesting. But overall, it's just I think also one thing to note, just shout out to Chris Moore and like you said, Amari Rogers for really stepping up with Cooks and Collins out. I think they did pretty well given how many quarterback switches they had. It was pretty outstanding how they like were able to adjust pretty seamlessly. I thought that was pretty interesting. I thought it would kind of mess them up a little, but they still played really, really well. So that's one thing to note.
Yeah, I agree. It's really impressive to see that Chris Moore, he balled out. He had 10 receptions for 124 yards on 11 targets. At this point, he's really just Mr. Consistent. Uh, he's going to get re-signed in the offseason. I can pretty much guarantee that. He has just been so solid. He's put together some really, really good games in these past 2 years. I'm really excited to see that Amari Rogers play good. Last season, he had 8 receptions in total. Against the Cowboys, he had 4 receptions, and he got his first career touchdown. And you saw the Texans utilizing it. So that's just kind of interesting to see that when you actually give a young player who's been a castaway on another team a chance, a talented player like Amari Rogers, it's good to see him succeed, and it's good to see him succeed on the Texans, who seemingly have just kind of picked up this trash from the other team and just throw it back away. Like you saw them, cut Benjamin. They didn't even use Benjamin that much. It's disappointing, but hey, Amari Rogers worked out in this case, and we very well may see Brandon Cooks and Nico Collins not play again this Sunday. They didn't practice on Wednesday, so could be seeing that again. And the Texans have to just kind of show they can be competent on offense. It's crazy to me that their highest scoring game was 24 points against the Chargers, and I'm not even sure that would have happened if Dameon Pierce didn't have that 80-yard rushing touchdown. So it just kind of shows you how the season's going. But like I said earlier, there's a lot of things that they can do with this two quarterback system. And like Anish said, props to those receivers for stepping up too, because they're going to continue to need to do that.
I mean, yeah, I also want to touch up on the receiver room that we have. Like, other than Amari Rogers and Chris Moore, we've seen Nico Collins. We all know what Nico Collins can do. We've been talking about Nico Collins for a while. But he's one of 3 players to have 50 targets without a drop this season. He has 64. He's only second to Adam Thielen, who has a surprising 89 targets without a drop. So, yeah, I mean, there's Nico, there's Mechie coming back next season. There's a potential we draft, Jordan Addison or Quentin Johnston. So there's this receiver room can get scary next season, especially with Mechie coming back, with, Amari Rogers again having a chip on his shoulder now. He got released by the Packers without being given a chance. So it's like he has this chip on his shoulder. He's gonna, if he can come back and, prove the Packers wrong, then our receiver room could be looking a lot good in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I think this two quarterback system it just seems like Pep is almost desperate to keep his job, and he's willing to do literally anything, just pulling just tricks out of his bag. So I mean, I'm interested to see how Pep kind of goes with the system. I think overall he didn't have a bad play calling game. Just near the end, it was just really terrible. How do you not capitalize that close to the goal line? But I think overall it seemed like he was calling a better game, but then again, it just he's been inconsistent all season. So we'll see about that, but that's pretty much it for the video. Let us know your thoughts on this two quarterback system, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications. Thank y'all for watching. Peace.